Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Season 5 of Eye on the Future with Lady Fontaine and co-hosts Jim Elkin and Paul LaPlaca. To schedule a reading or learn more about Lady Fontaine, also known as America's #1 love psychic, be sure to check out Lady Fontaine's website at ladyfontaine.com. Now, here's Lady Fontaine with co-hosts Jim Elkin and Paul LaPlaca.
Good evening and welcome to Eye on the Future. This is Season 6, Episode 4, and today is Thursday, October 21st, 2021. I'm your host, Paul LaPlaca, along with our spiritual wizard, Jim Elkin, and our psychic extraordinaire, Lady Fontaine. She's also the #1 psychic and is our life and relationship expert. A warm where you can we all relationship prospect, manifesting, and much more. Those who like and subscribe to be notified of our new shows. We're very interested in your comments below the live streaming. Don't forget, in order for us to do videos, your help in liking and following us on all the various platforms. And since we are doing video, for those of you who don't know, here is James Elkin, our healing expert. Say hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
If you time on Future Radio YouTube channel, our Facebook page, or just listen to the podcast on Blog iTunes or any other distributor, we got to get and we'll be patient. We'll do our best to get every questions. If you'll be on the mail list, please give your screener, Mike, your real email address, so we can. We'll be taking 319-567-6216. That's 319-527-6216. Call us with a narcissist. Lady, first examine this topic so you can learn more from our phones are. Let's get to the one last piece of business we have. We are still looking for a social person to help graphic and posting on social media. We are a fun team, if you haven't noticed already, and we love this opportunity includes desires, and our most important requirements are that you are good with technology, have excellent home office equipment, fast internet, and if interested, please email us at radioshow@ladyfontaine.com. And Lady Fontaine or her assistant, Star, will get back to you. There's currently no compensation for this opportunity, but great experience, lots of fun, and looks really good. This is over to you, but before I do, I want to see you read tonight.
I do.
Yes,
wow,
you do.
Thank you.
Very fun. So, sorry you all. Going to see your friends.
I guess so. I think the bigger effect was I was so exhausted when I got back that it took me 3 days to recover. So that's probably why I was. Yes, I think that's really it. Certainly isn't today anything special because I literally walked in the door like 20 minutes ago, and I haven't eaten breakfast. I haven't eaten lunch. I had like 3 pistachios and like a little sliver like this of cauliflower pizza just to like get something in my system so I could do the show. So, but thank you. I never even thought you noticed me. She's just like a fixture here. We don't even notice her. So
That's not a very narcissistic thing to say.
I'm not. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I just took a test to figure out if there was any narcissistic tendencies in me, and I came to very low risk on a scale of a 0 to 40. I was a 9, and 0 to 10 is you're not. But these two guys have not taken the test yet.
I'm not taking any tests. I don't need a test. I know better. If that sounds familiar, it might be a narcissist talking.
Right?
And it might be. It might be. So why would you not take the test?
Oh, I don't know. No reason. I can take that. I just don't like any information on the internet that takes information from me because I have no control over what I answer. The answers are taken, and who knows where they go. So I just don't like to answer questions on the internet whatsoever.
That sounds like paranoia. We need to do a show on
Wow,
No.
you're good.
That's
Paul.
experience.
Oh my
That's
God.
experience, brother. I know data miners. I know how they think, and I know what they do.
Right?
You know what a data miner is?
I do.
A data miner
Not
is
really.
they're people who delve into databases and pull out information, trends, so they can sell it to bankers and other organizations that are looking for ideas as to how they can better market their products.
Yep.
And how did they get in? They hack their way in?
No, they use databases that are provided to them from companies because companies sell information that they obtain. So when you start one of these tests up and they say disclaimer, whether you can use this information this way or something like that, that's a good sign that they're probably going to misuse your information.
Yep, that's an open door for abuse.
The moment you say I accept, you're done.
Yep.
So I guess the whole world is going to be thinking I'm a narcissist at this point, even though I said that I'm not.
Based on your answers, not on your test.
Either way, I failed, so that means I passed.
That's right.
Which means I'm not.
That's right.
So, and I had no doubts about it. But a couple of questions there, I had to say, somewhat. Like, do I think of success, and do I talk about the high-powered people that I know? Yes, I do. I always do. I flaunt it. I guess that's why I was on a scale of 0 to 40 and 9. But this is a really serious topic today. Did you turn the mic over to me yet? Yes, I did. Okay. So, my Joe.
So is there an official definition for this that we can kind of delve into here?
Well, narcissists are generally created from childhood, and they usually stem from a very dysfunctional family. And I really hate to say this part because so many of my clients call me and they start talking about, people that they're involved with, and they're clearly narcissists. But typically, a narcissist has a low emotional, development. I don't know how else to say it nicely.
Yeah.
So, and that's not saying that they're not smart. I'm sure some of them are very, very smart. But from an emotional standpoint, they're like defunct.
Yeah. Well, I was to the term through my song, Supper Thread. And it's an 18-minute song, and I went through all kind of really storytelling. And he mentioned Narcissus in the middle of the song, and the line is, and Narcissus is turned into a flower. So I looked at the story, a mythological story about this man who was so enamored of himself, and he was so beautiful and so enjoyed looking at himself that he was staring at himself in a pond or him, and did he fall?
I don't remember if he starved to death because he didn't want to take time to eat because he was so enamored with him. Yeah. The guy kind of forgave him and turned him into a beautiful flower. Right. So we have the Narcissus. Is it the Narcissus flower? That's right. And then everyone has tarnished the name. It's such a horrible thing to be in a relationship with something like that. So a narcissist is a very thing because it's a
it's almost impossible.
I've seen in the beginning of a relationship with a narcissist, they are lovely. They're the most.
They are the most charming
That's
people
right.
in
They're
the
just-
entire world. They will
and they-
sweep you off of your feet
And
a million times over.
they gently bring you into their drama and their life, and then they ask you to feel sorry for them, not directly, and then all of a sudden you're on this roller coaster and they're riding you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there it is.
I met this guy a while ago. I think I told you guys something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he proposed to me 3 times in one day. Clearly a red flag for me. Clearly.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many clients. I had one client. She's no longer a client, but she was for a very long time. And every man she ever met proposed to her on the first date. And I said, now, do we see that there's a common theme here? And all of them turned out to have some sort of behavioral personality disorder. I mean, all of them. Some of them narcissists, some of them other things. But that to me is a very big tip-off. I mean, and I refused each one of the proposals. Don't worry. I wasn't stupid. I was gone within less than a week. And that's the situation I was telling you about. I have to apologize to our callers because our screener isn't online yet. Oh, yes, he is. Yes, he is. He just got on.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
All right. So who's ever, waiting to be screened, our screeners should be, with you in a few minutes. But that was why I exited that relationship as quickly as I did, Jim, even though you were kind of indicating there could be things for me to learn in that experience.
Yeah. Well,
See,
it could also be. They tend to go for people who are empathic, who want to feel what you feel.
Right.
And,
exactly.
And empaths tend to want to forgive them all the time and give them another chance, and that's generally the pattern that goes along for a long time. I had one friend who was ensnared in that relationship and actually went to Al-Anon, which is the support groups for alcoholics.
Yeah.
Anonymous members or people who are alcoholics, and it helped her to see how she can walk away from who he is, because it's a better thing for both of them than for her to stay in that relationship, and she managed to do that, and now she's married to a wonderful man.
Wow.
So they don't have support groups for people who have been involved.
They do now. Now, this is a few years
this was
ago.
a long time.
Yeah, not a long time, but.
I was going to start this show by saying, if you're in a situation like that, there's no way out except getting out. Yeah. Literally.
Right. You can't fix them.
They need help, and they rarely accept help or want help because they're perfect. I mean, there's nothing wrong. And unfortunately, it's a very abusive, emotionally abusive type of a relationship. And we will talk about it more today. But I see it in, I would say, greater than 50 or 60% of my clients, that they call me and they start talking to me about relationships, and clearly they're involved with the narcissist. And what can you tell a person except get out? There's no hope here unless that person chooses to get help. And like I said, the research shows they don't often do it. But there is some newer research that does show that some of them are bright enough and sort of intrigued enough that if they get into therapy, they get intrigued by that whole process. So they actually want help, and they actually do pretty well. But I've never seen a narcissist recover, ever.
Right. No, it's almost like I can't say officially, but it feels like a personality thing. At some point, it's not something that can be helped by professionals. It's really deep.
It is, and typically, narcissists have very low self-esteem. They come strong.
Yes. For it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I tell that to clients, they have a hard time because these people are abusing them and
Right.
trying to control them. And in reality, it's all based on having very low self-esteem.
Right.
So,
And that's kind of the struggle, right? When they felt
yeah,
minimized so much in their childhood that in order to survive, they overcompensate and create this self-identity that's enormous, huge. I am the best. I'm the greatest that was ever, because they actually feel so small.
small,
And
exactly.
the only thing to overcome that is the bluster, you know.
Right, and probably they weren't heard, or they felt that they weren't heard. Therefore, they had to create this identity that would make them so illustrious that any and everybody would want to be with them.
Right.
But in reality, when you see what's underneath, it's not pretty.
Now, Jill, in your experience with your clients, there like one or two personality types that are magnetically attracted to the narcissist, or it's across the board, like you can fall prey to it. But I feel like it's a spiritual thing where you kind of get in with that person because you like Jim was saying, like the empath maybe needs
Right.
they fit functional, but it's a symbiotic relationship with power. Feed off, not a
Right.
healthy.
No, it's not at all. It's not healthy at all. I also see it in men or women who are, I don't want to say desperate, but very anxious for a partner, and they're willing to, and people with low self-esteem, because
Right.
they're willing to put up with that abuse, to have somebody there, and somebody who projects themselves like, oh my God, I'm the most phenomenal person in the world. So, it's typically that. I mean, if you have a good sense of who you are, you're not going to be able to tolerate a narcissist for 5 seconds.
Right.
You're not. Because what I find one of the most pronounced signs or symptoms in a narcissist, other than controlling and, it's all about them. I mean, they don't really care about their partner. They'll never assume responsibility. But what I see is they try to isolate their partner from family members and other friends. Therefore, they have total control over that person.
Yep.
Right. But that
Yeah.
also most likely is other behavioral, personality disorders as well involved in there. And I personally think that a narcissist is a combination of a bunch of stuff
Right.
from a mental health standpoint. I don't think, because they're different. I mean, I have a list here of 9 different typical traits, and I know, my ex-husband was a narcissist, and some of this applies and some of it doesn't.
Right. So kind of there's a smorgasbord.
And I think it's like pick and choose.
Right.
I think if you have more than 3 or 4 of these signs, and if they're prominent, it's like, for instance.
Well, hold on. Someone just said that they don't care. And my experience, but I found it's not that they don't care; it's that they literally don't see you or that
Right.
they're doing anything wrong.
They have no
They
right.
can't
They have no
perceive it.
empathy.
It's almost like,
Yeah.
and they're shocked when you say this did this to me, you did, and they're like, I didn't do that. That's
they
you.
actually-
It's your problem. Your fault.
Actually go to the point of not being shocked, but insulted.
Right.
Yes. And defensive. I mean, how
Yeah.
many times did they turn it around?
Oh, yeah.
And that's part of their MO. They're going to turn it around and blame you for it, even though they're totally responsible. That to me is a big sign of a narcissist. But there are a lot of people that aren't narcissists that don't assume responsibility.
Right.
I mean, you can't say every person who doesn't assume responsibility is a narcissist. But it's a very difficult, thing to maneuver in a relationship. I mean, I would get out. I mean, I couldn't see how to live with that kind of scenario and be happy and maintain your dignity and your self-respect.
Right. Now,
I
Jim,
don't know how anybody can survive.
with your background, from a Buddhist perspective, then like, what would somebody from a Buddhist master say dealing with Eastern philosophy look at that type
That's
of
a question.
and how are you supposed to grow as a person spiritually, interact with someone like that? Is there anything they've ever talked about?
I can only imagine. Okay. And my imagination is telling me that a master, if I came to a master and said, I think I'm involved in a relationship with a narcissist and I'm being abused by this person emotionally, I think he would just say, well, get out of it.
Right.
And that's
Go
smart
away. Just leave that.
No,
I don't think
especially
so.
if you're a beginner. I mean, if you're an enlightened master and a narcissist comes up and tries to put the saddle on you, they would just walk away.
It's not going to work.
They wouldn't give him any power. They wouldn't give him any.
Exactly.
It's like because they're so much in mastery and understanding of what's going on in the situation. When this guy tries to take control, their first impulse would be to just laugh at them.
Right.
And just, you're not going to get control over me, and I'm not going to take the bait. So
right.
You have a choice. You can walk away, or we can have a decent conversation on a one-to-one.
Right.
That kind of thing. It's not lack of compassion, but it's just a lack of desire to cooperate with the drama.
Right.
It's a very different animal. And answer your question. You had another.
Experience studying philosophy. If they ever talk like that, did Eastern philosophies ever talk about a specific type of person? And is an exercise to yourself and make yourself more by suffering?
You mean suffering through that relationship with a narcissist, or you mean suffering as a narcissist?
No.
That's a suffering too. I mean,
you wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know
it
if you were a narcissist. It would just be normal for you. It'd be
wouldn't feel
everyday life.
because the whole thing is so defended and is so structured and organized that they don't need to feel. They don't need to look at it and evaluate it. Yeah.
Compensate and I believe they are suffering.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they definitely are. Absolutely.
They need confirmation of the pain that they're in.
Exactly.
And they need to inflict it. Exactly. Right. Well, that's the control aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But
and someone to take the blame when they make mistakes.
Yes.
Well, and don't we all make mistakes all the time?
Yeah.
I mean, we all do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a matter of being able to own up to it. And then, like I find with a narcissist, and it's part of this grandiose, illusion that they have of themselves, but they need that constant validation that they're so great.
Mm-hmm.
They need that constantly, and they will create the situation asking you straight out. Don't you think that, I'm so smart, I'm so beautiful, I'm so handsome, I'm the most muscular man in the world, whatever it is. There's always going to be, they always have to be in the spotlight.
Right.
Yeah.
Always.
That's right.
So, Jill, I interrupt.
All right, I'm going to give you a high level, I'm just going to say it. If you have any questions about it, we could talk about it. But throughout the show, I want to bring up some of this stuff. But before I do that, do you remember a few months ago, we had a woman call in and I said to her, man, that guy sounds like a narcissist. And she said, yes. And she said the same thing that Jim said about, I don't remember what her name was, but she said, yeah, I'm an empath, and they tend to be drawn towards me. Now, I'm an empath as well. I guess I married one, so I guess at one point I allowed that, but I learned, I was in therapy for a long time. I learned a lot. Plus, dealing with people and seeing the torment that they go through being involved with narcissists is outrageous. But, all right, there are 9 typical signs, but I think there's 10. One is what we've been talking about, that grandiose sense of self-importance. Another one is a fixation on fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, attractiveness, or ideal love. I mean, they have to be it. They have to. And they imagine in their head that they are. What I just said to you about the need for continual admiration from others, self-perception of being special, unique, superior, and to be only understood by or be associated with people or institutions of high status. Now, that one I kind of failed on. Not really. They worded it different. In the test that I took, they worded it different. So that's why I failed that one. Sense of entitlement. That is really big with the narcissist. They demand it. There's no and, ifs, or buts, and it doesn't matter what you say, what you think. They're God, period.
Yep.
Lack of empathy, which we talked about. Envy of others or believing others are envious of them. And I think that is so sad. I really do. Because, they won't admit that they're envious. And what they end up doing because they're envious is either they compete or they belittle or they control. I mean, they have to knock that person off of their, platform or, whatever it is.
Yep.
That's it.
See, I still have it. So, yeah, before I end up going like senile here, I might as well try to get out my last thoughts.
There you go.
Yeah, so the lack of empathy, envy of others.
So about the envy
what?
of others, they also, because they can't knock a person off of their pedestal, what they can do is they can just decide that person doesn't deserve to be in their thoughts.
But do you see that? See, I don't. I see with narcissists, once they get a victim, they're like a venomous creature, like a tick that just latches, like a leech. They just latch on, and
some of them are more
until they
subtle.
suck you dry.
Yeah, some of them are more subtle than that. But when it comes to people that they would like to be like, or that have things that they want, if they can't actually attack that person directly, they just poo-poo them. It's like, that guy's worthless. That guy's meaningless. He doesn't have anything to say.
Yes.
He's a waste of time. Just drop him.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. And then we had talked about this also, well, basically what you just said, about belittling people. I mean, that's obviously another trait. And it's always for their personal gain, and continuing demeaning, bullying, and belittling others. And that to me is like a classic sign. When most of my clients call me, it's usually that or the 10th one that I had mentioned, which was a narcissist tends to want to isolate the person. They don't want them to be with their family. They don't want them to be with their friends. They want to keep them away from anybody who would have any power over them other than the narcissist themselves.
Right.
So I'm really actually surprised that this clinical description of signs did not include controlling, because I find them very controlling, and also where they try to keep you away from your family. I could think of somebody very much in the spotlight, that to me is a classic narcissist. If you guess, I will say yes or no. It's classic. Yes, somebody married somebody very important and totally is isolated that person from their family, totally is controlling this person. Classic to me. I will.
Sounds like Tom Cruise with the stuff with Katie Holmes. That definitely sounds familiar.
But
somebody else.
I'm sure there was tidbits of things involved in that one, but that's not who I'm thinking of. This is somebody who's in the spotlight right now, totally isolating this person from their family. That, and it's an important role this person has. And they're not in the United States. I might as well give you a few more clues. They're not in the United States. They were across the ocean. Yeah.
Oh, saying that that
Yes,
Marco,
I am. Yes, I am. Absolutely.
and you think that she is
Yes, I totally do believe that.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
Why? Tell me give me your diagnosis, Doc.
Well, honestly, I feel like tip from the United States perspective is just so ripe for judgmental people that don't understand what's written in the real and be
Oh.
make it sound like she's being a baby and she was not treated right. So I don't think she's trying from his family, just that she wanted to get the hell out and she wanted to raise her family where she wouldn't have to deal with that kind of abuse.
And
That's my
if that were my feeling on that, if that were indeed true, then why would that have affected Harry's relationship with the rest of the royal family? I mean, I could see him defending his wife, but
I think that they insisted that they weren't going to give his children their proper titles. That causes a rift. You know that his father was worried all over instead of being happy he was going to have a child. You know
that half of this is even true. I mean, there's so much fake news out there. How do you know that this is true?
I think.
I second that opinion.
I was going to ask Jim what he thought about it, but all right.
No.
I said I didn't want to say who it
Like
was.
I said, I'm not going to be tempted with debate there. No, I don't think so.
All right, so are there any other types of characteristics on our list? Was that all?
Those
Well,
are the main ones.
In the sense of entitlement, it does mention something. Sense of entitlement. This sense of entitlement can be linked to showing black and white behavior, splitting, such as idealizing when you go along with them and devaluing you when you don't what is expected by them. Don't do what is expected by them. I like that because that's that manipulative thing you're talking about. They're liking you when you do the good things, and they don't like you at all when you're doing the bad things, and really on your case. So maybe that's the manipulative point that they didn't make.
Yeah. Right, or the controlling, right.
Yeah.
Right, I agree with that. I don't even know I haven't found it, what you were reading.
Oh, it's number 5, sense of entitlement, the third paragraph.
Oh. Oh, okay.
I would definitely say that manipulation is one of the things that I've experienced the most in my personal interactions, and one of my exes was had a lot. And the thing that was most painful was years and kind of had my the technique that she that this kind of cold that narcissists will make you feel bad about yourself, and it's for your own good. I have to knock you down off your life. I have to hurt you and hurt your feelings. So this is for your own personal benefit. So you'll grow, so you can see how you really are. I'm holding up a mirror to you, and it's not most of the time. You're just like you're getting all this feedback from someone who's supposed to be your partner and close to you, and you start doubting yourself, and you start feeling like, oh, could they be right? Maybe I am this kind of person. Maybe I am bad. Maybe I need. It's like, and it's that manipulation that really caused me the most pain when I recognized it. And I started reading about narcissistic borderline personality disorder, and I'm like, oh my God, this has been going on for 70 years, and it's like, oh boy, it stinks.
Well, I believe that it's very closely associated with borderline personality disorder.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot of overlap, a
Yep.
lot. But yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that because it's hard. Recovering from a relationship like that is very, very difficult. It really is.
Yeah.
But, what I would like to talk a little bit about before we start taking calls is sort of like building a template of what a healthy relationship looks like or a healthy person looks like in a relationship so that somebody has either a model or they could see where things are lacking and where, because my feeling is if you don't honor yourself, no one else will either. And if you're going to, this is going to sound mean to say, but if you allow people to abuse you, they're going to continue to abuse you. So what type of person would allow someone to abuse them? Someone with a low self-esteem, someone
Right.
who, again, we said it earlier, you're so anxious or so thankful to be in a relationship. And again, that's what a narcissist looks for, somebody they can control. They're not going to bother with somebody that they, like, a Buddhist or a Buddhist master. They're not going to bother with people that they can't get the results and the effects that they want. They're going to move on and say next. So I think it's somewhat important to sort of define what's a healthy relationship. What does that look like? Like my idea of a healthy relationship is good communication. I mean, it's respect. To me, it's not, I don't believe in 50-50 in a relationship. I believe in 100-100. Oh, we just lost Paul. I really think if you're in a, okay. Oh, okay. We were doing so good for so long. Okay.
Some of the wonders and the great honest stuff behind the scenes here.
Pay no
I'm
attention
telling
to
you,
the man behind
the Wizard
blank.
of Oz. But, what was I saying? I don't remember. It sounded like it was good at the time.
You were.
Jim, stop laughing.
It just slipped. Totally slipped. You were talking about formulating what a healthy relationship looks like.
100-100. I was saying to me, that's what a relationship looks like. It's not 50-50. It's 100-100. But Jimmy.
If it's 100, I was going to say if it's 100-100, that means there's no room for you in the relationship because you're giving 100% to that other person.
And the person's giving 100% back. But that Jimmy's, there are certain areas where people are strong and other people are weak. Then that could be, 90-10. And it shimmies. But if you have an equal, if you have a partner that you love and respect and you communicate well with that person and you're on the same wavelength, it doesn't matter if in the moment you've got 10% of the power or 10% of the importance in the relationship. You would be happy for your partner to have success or to go out and do the fun things that they enjoy doing. So to me, that takes a whole person to be able to be whole in a relationship and not need somebody to fix them, to complete them, to anything them. They go into a relationship whole. They're willing to Jimmy, hey, go do or whatever. You don't need to control anything. You need to enjoy your life with that person. And that to me is 100-100. And you have a problem with that apparently. Then talk to Dr. Phil because he also agrees with me.
But I never agree with Dr. Phil, so that's.
Well, that explains everything. That explains everything.
That's not saying something to concern me. No, I just feel like there's my space, which is got to be a certain percentage. I've got to have room for me. For the things I like to do. I'm a musician. I like to do music. Maybe my partner doesn't like to do music. But the cool thing is, my partner can enjoy my music and can want to participate with me in that music. But that doesn't mean that person has to go out and learn all of my instruments, which is what 100%
Nobody said
means
that.
for me.
Nobody said no. Just like me with dog shows. If I'm with somebody, they don't need to learn anything about dogs or showing dogs or anything, but I would really love if they would join me at dog shows every now and then. That's sort of being with the person and being able to share things without, there's no rules here. It's not that, oh, you have to become me. I don't want a clone of myself. That would be awfully boring. I want to learn. I want to experience new things.
That's why I shy away from the 100%.
Right. Well, I think
to me, not 100%. Someone's going to complete you or fix you, and that's BS in my eyes.
What I feel like say, and what I've seen with the similar, is you can't, and the center symbolic that this was their joint one flame together, and then distinguish.
We did that at the wedding I was at the other day.
This is where you're coming from too. It's
Yeah.
like
That's
the
you
100% you have to somehow lose yourself. I think that's what you're saying. I believe
no, not
the
at all.
100% when you come to a relationship
Equal.
is you are, it's not the way, is that you're giving 100% of your spirit and energy and effort to.
And you're receiving it.
And you're receiving
and
it.
you're receiving it.
It's not just like
whatever that is.
It's
right.
just
Whatever
all of you.
that is.
So I would say with my story, what would make it right for me is that okay, handle together, and that, but I still have one flame. You put your together to create a unified relationship together.
Right.
Right. So that you
no.
In the other person's, how that you're balanced and involved and 100% of you there.
Right. Now, using Jim's example, if I was with someone who is a musician, I would want to listen to the music. To me, that would be phenomenal. I mean, to have, somebody singing or playing a musical instrument.
Hold on a second. I'll get my...
and experiencing that and sharing that to me is like the most exciting and enticing parts of a relationship is expanding yourself and really getting to know another person's world and stuff. So I don't see it at all as that somebody then has to learn every song and every whatever, or go to every dog show and know every collie by, that's the one bred by this person, that one, because I'll say that when I'm at a dog show, but I don't expect anyone else to. But I would like somebody to join me, to want to, not that I want them to join me, I would want them to want to join me once in a while. And I think that's give and take. And I think you need to be whole and complete in order to be able to do that. But I find this fascinating that we're having this discussion. I really do. This has to be another show because it's obviously deep. It is. As far as what constitutes a relationship and how much do you bring? My feeling is if I bring half of me, you might as well not even date me because it's not going to be what I can offer in a relationship. I mean, if I'm in a relationship, I give 110%, period. That doesn't mean I lose myself because I don't ever remember losing myself.
But
Did I lose myself in my marriage?
But you never exaggerate, right? 110% is impossible. There's no such thing.
But that's people say that. I mean, that's an expression. But
I'm trying to say that 100%. I mean, that's also, it leaves no room. That's why I don't like to use 100%. I'm not saying 50%. Why do we have to use percentages? Why can't we just say, I want to support this person and I'm enjoying this person's support of me? And it doesn't have to mean any commitments or whatever, sacrifice or anything like that. It can just be, it's great. If you can help me, that's great. If you can't, I'll get by myself. I would have anyway. So that's fine.
Yeah, but it might include commitments. I'm not saying you go into it with those expectations, but the end result could be a commitment if both people want it. Sure. I mean, I think that's something to discuss up front in a relationship because I have many times either men or women calling me and they say, I've been dating this guy or this girl on and off, and I want to get married, and they don't. And I've said it on this show before. If somebody tells you they don't want to get married or they're not ready, believe them, because you're going to have years of waiting and probably never getting anywhere with a person, unless they're, in therapy or getting some sort of help or assistance with it, because there's always reasons why people are afraid.
That's true.
But all right, do we have callers waiting?
We sure do.
We do. We have a lot.
All right, so let's take a few calls.
Jim, what do you think? Can you read the who we have?
I see someone here that I'd love to hear from.
Who?
Her name is Sherry. Sherry, you there?
I am.
Hi, welcome.
Sherry.
Hey, Lady Fontaine,
that's
how
my
are
sister.
you?
That's my sister.
My sister.
This is my.
Yes,
it is.
Sherry,
Not in any way whatsoever.
If she was, would you answer the question?
I would.
Yeah, I wouldn't have
I'm honest.
Right, and I wouldn't have so many close friends if I was a narcissist.
No, absolutely not. You would not. No.
Right.
So, what are you calling
Jerry,
about?
Well, you are aware of the fact that I was married to the definition of a narcissist for 15 years.
Yes, big time.
Big time. And probably the most important thing to say for anybody that might be listening is you cannot win that battle. Get out. Get away.
Exactly.
That's the only thing that I can really offer without explanation, without, tears and all this other stuff and drama. Just get out. You will not win.
And it's so true.
Away.
You won't win. You won't win. I mean, and Sherry went through a real rough time in that marriage. I mean, a real rough time.
Sure.
And she still does. He's still a controlling person. I'm on the air, so I can't say what I was going to say.
Putting it really nicely, Jill.
he's
I have other terms.
Yes, so do I. I was holding back from saying
it's
it.
Because
but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's because I have a disabled child.
I see. So you felt like that was the best way for you to be able to handle your child growing up?
In what way?
What do you mean,
with
Jim?
him?
Yeah, to stay with him?
No. I was just I didn't understand what was going on until I was so destroyed that I basically I had to jump off a cliff, and I knew that if I stayed, I was going to die one way or another, emotionally or physically. So I had to jump off the cliff. I just had gotten to that point. But the real eye-opener is when one of my sons came to me and made some statements to me, and then I realized that he's hurting them as much as he's hurting me. And that was the eye-opener when I realized that he was damaging them and not just me. So, it was...
So much easier to take when it's just you, right? But when it's the kids, no way.
Well, I was just so involved in trying to protect them and trying to survive that I didn't see what was happening to them until the words of a child came out, and it was like, oh my goodness gracious, what am I doing? So I realized I needed to end that, and I just didn't. I was also wrapped up with a family business that held me in, so it was a really, really tough situation. But it's just like I said, it's not a battle you can win. You will not win as a narcissist.
Right. That's why I was going to open the show and say, get out. I mean, if you're in a relationship, get out. There's no way. There's no way. No. You can't talk your way. You can't reason with them. You can't. Stories that you go, Sherry.
I was going to say they will not change, because it is a personality disorder. Well, it's a disorder, and there is nothing. This was explained to me years and years ago that they don't see that there's anything wrong with them, that they justify everything, that it's everybody else's fault. There is no way that the prognosis for a narcissist is extremely poor. It just can't happen.
You're right.
It's not going to happen.
You're right.
So
it is
just get
extremely
out.
poor. You're right.
Get out
I mean,
and
that
save
is the best
yourself.
advice. But the sad part of it is Sherry got out many years ago because she's been married to Mike for, 9 years,
9.
right? Right.
Yes.
But this